Later this week, pot activist Jodie Emery will testify at a Commons standing committee looking at the Liberal government's proposed cannabis legalization bill, and she joins me now from Ottawa. Jodie, thanks for making time this morning.
Well, thank you for having me.
So I've been following you on Twitter for a while, and recently you've been putting the word legalization in quotes. So I'm guessing that when you speak to this committee, it's not going to be favorable stuff.
Well, unfortunately, it seems as though legalization is being presented as an opportunity for the government to criminalize everybody as they've always done before. If the law is going to be changed, we need to see the existing industry not be criminalized. We need to see peaceful, nonviolent Canadians not be criminalized. But if the law introduces tough new penalties and grants the police more money to go after people under legalization, then what exactly does legalization mean?
To me, it seems that there are two tracks. There's the federal government's legalization framework, and then it's up to the provinces to figure out how they are going to regulate within that legal framework. The Ontario government has released its plan to create a cannabis control board. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, it's a terrible idea. First of all, marijuana legalization was supposed to allow the existing industry to come out of the shadows and into the light. So the federal government is controlling all the production, and the provinces will be allowed to control the distribution. But if you're not allowed to grow it and sell it unless you're authorized by the government, you're still a criminal. The Ontario plan is so terrible because we should be allowing entrepreneurs and innovators and small business, medium, big business to be allowed to create jobs and create tax revenue. Instead, the Ontario government is going to force taxpayers to subsidize hundreds of millions of dollars in a new bureaucracy that they admit won't even make money, won't be able to replace the existing market. So what is it all for? It seems as though marijuana legalization federally and provincially is going to result in taxpayers being forced to pay for even more law enforcement, denied the ability to enjoy the tax revenues and the benefits. And when we talk about why we should legalize, we really should be focusing on the benefits of health, not the harm to health that the government keeps promoting.
So, Jodie, pie in the sky this for me. If in your view the Ontario model is, well, let's call it a worst practice, what would you recommend other provinces to adopt in order to have best practices?
Well, sadly, the provinces won't be able to do anything about the production of cannabis. They're only allowed to distribute what the federal government provides. So the federal government's control over the creation and distribution, the production of marijuana will starve the provinces if they don't have enough. We know that the licensed producers of medical marijuana, who exist because of lawbreakers challenging and changing the law, these medical marijuana producers want to serve the recreational market, but they can't even meet the needs of the patients they're required to serve. So again, this existing industry worth billions of dollars of tens of thousands of peaceful Canadians growing cannabis, they should be allowed the opportunity to come forward and be legalized. And regular retailers should be allowed to set up their own individual store or a chain of stores. Anything like a coffee shop or a bar or a restaurant, there should be no sort of exclusion to the people, especially who had been involved in this industry and criminalized and punished for it for so long.
Well, Jodie, you co-own a dispensary chain, and as part of this regulatory framework that Ontario is suggesting, they're going to be shutting down everything that isn't within their new framework. What steps can you take? What recourse do you have and fellow dispensary owners have in the face of this massive change?
Well, 6 months ago, I was arrested and charged, and I'm facing very serious charges and even long prison time. Life in prison is a potential possibility for me, for my peaceful activism. So I don't own dispensaries anymore. Cannabis Culture is a magazine and an organization that only briefly did dispensaries as civil disobedience. But we were trying to demonstrate what legalization should look like. The ability of franchises or independent owners to set up a business, providing a need. A federal court judge even said dispensaries at the heart of access. And when we talk about drugs in this country, obviously opioids and the fentanyl crisis is at the top of people's minds. Well, the United States National Institute on Drug Abuse and the American Journal on Public Health and the Journal of the American Medical Association, they've all looked into cannabis and opioids and show that 25% reduction in overdoses when you introduce marijuana. So more marijuana and more marijuana dispensaries reduce opioid overdoses and deaths. We really need more access in this country, and we shouldn't let the fears of prohibition of the past dictate laws that will criminalize peaceful people now and in the future.
Jodie Emery from Ottawa, thanks for your perspective on this.
Thank you for the time.